Episode 19. A Revenge Plot Against Desmond. George Gluman's father, the president of Gluman Pharmaceuticals, speaks to his secretary. He tells him that as of the 10th of next month, he will no longer be president of the company. The secretary mentions the Desmond Group, but the president cuts him off and tells him that the company was in dire straits financially, and he is not sure how he will tell his son that the company will cease to exist in a month. Standing outside the office, George hears all this and is shocked. A month later, the students of Eden Academy are cleaning the school grounds. Becky Blackbell comments to Anya Forger about how calm things are now that the midterms are over. Their conversation is interrupted, however, by Damien Desmond, who performs a move he calls Desmond-style rolling sweep, which incidentally flings a bunch of dirt into Anya and Becky's faces, causing them to cough. Their classmates compliment Damien on his cleaning skills and Stella Star, then propose making a study group with him before the next exam. Becky annoyedly looks at Damien and complains about how obnoxious he is, but Anya says she also wants to go to Damien's study group. Becky teases Anya for having a thing for Damien, which makes Anya wonder what this thing is. Anya suddenly overhears George's thoughts, saying he will never forgive Damien. George questions how Damien got a Stella Star despite having had his butler hire a spy to change Damien's test scores to failing grades. Anya is shocked to learn that the person who hired Daybreak was one of her classmates. Becky asks Anya if she likes Damien, but Anya ignores the question and says she wants to know more about George, making Becky think that Anya will fall for any guy. Becky cautions her to stay away from George because of how gloomy he is. George is still determined to get Damien expelled, and he pulls out a cigarette butt from his jacket and pretends to pick it up from the ground by Damien. He accuses Damien of smoking and calls over a teacher to report this. Damien grabs George's shoulder and tells him to stop, but George hits and throws himself to the ground to make it look like Damien attacked him. When the teacher asks what happened, George claims that he found the cigarette butt on the ground and got punched by Damien when he called for the teacher. The teacher demands an explanation from Damien. Emil and Ewan insist that it is a lie, but the teacher does not trust them because he knows how close they are to Damien. Anya comes to Damien's defense and tells the teacher what really happened. Feeling wary of Anya, the teacher leaves and tells the students not to call him over for nonsense again. Becky squeals, believing this is a romantic moment between Anya and Damien. Becky tells Anya that Damien probably knows exactly how she feels now, but Anya is confused while Damien yells in embarrassment. Damien confronts George and demands to know why he is trying to get him in trouble, but George cries that his whole life is over now. George explains that as of today, his family company is bankrupt, thanks to the Desmond Group driving it out of business. George believed that if he got Damien expelled, his family would be too distracted to mess with Gluman Pharmaceuticals. Regardless of what transpired, George says he will have to leave school as his family will be out on the street tomorrow. George expresses his envy of Damien, but Emil Ellman and Ewan Egeberg tell him that Damien's family has nothing to do with his success and that George's unpopularity is his own fault. George bursts into tears and rants about wanting to spend the springtime of his life at school. Wanting to calm him down, Damien offers to buy him juice. George glares at him but accepts. After finishing the juice, he speaks of his regret of never being able to order the deluxe caviar bowl at the cafeteria. Damien gets George the bowl, and George then says he always wanted to know what it feels like to wear a Stella Star. Damien gets irritated but lets George wear his Stella after he mopes. Afterward, George starts talking about how sad his life will be from now on as a slave in Westalis. But Anya assures him that it will be okay, saying that the West is a peaceful country. Happy that all his classmates are being so nice to him, George bursts into tears, and he makes one last request, to sing the school chorus with everyone. Becky is the first to start singing, and eventually, everyone from Cecile Hall except Anya starts singing the chorus together, dancing in a circle. At the end of the school day, the Cecile Hall students gift George mementos to remember them. They wish George a tearful farewell and tell him that he will always be a part of Cecile Hall. After getting home, Anya tells Lloyd and Yor Forger about George and what happened today. Lloyd wonders aloud how Gluman Pharmaceuticals getting acquired by the Desmond Group is the same as them going bankrupt. After George arrives home, his father tells him that the Desmond Group saved their company, but it also means he would no longer be president of the company. George asks if that means he is still going to school, which his father affirms. When an embarrassed George returns to school the next day, Becky tells him to return everything, Damien tells him to pay back for the juice, and Anya simply pats his shoulder. Mama becomes the wind. Lloyd wakes Anya up early for school, but she goes back to sleep right after. Anya ends up oversleeping, and she hurries to get ready. Lloyd tells her that if she is late or forgets something, she will get punished, and he warns her about getting Tontiris bolts. Anya makes it in time for her bus, and Lloyd leaves for work while Yor stays at home to do housework. When she passes by Anya's room, she notices her PE uniform still on her desk, and assumes that Anya forgot to bring it. Yor then imagines Anya getting expelled from Eden Academy from this and becoming a delinquent. Wanting to avoid this, Yor decides to bring her the uniform. Putting them in a bag, Yor rushes outside but immediately wonders which way is faster to the school. She then spots an empty alleyway and decides to get to the school via parkour. Yor arrives at Eden and wonders where to find Anya's class. After remembering Lloyd's warning, Yor realizes she should keep this a secret and look for Anya herself. Suddenly, some students walk by, and Yor quickly jumps to the school walls and scales them. Meanwhile, in a classroom, a student tells his classmate about a rumor of a mysterious spider woman climbing their walls. As the other boy dismisses it, he sees the ghastly image of Yor looking for Anya at the window and shrieks in terror. Yor realizes it is not a good idea to stand out, so she paces around the school grounds, wondering what she could do to find Anya. She proposes disguising herself as a teacher, but she changes her mind after imagining herself getting overrun by students asking for help with homework. Yor passes by the school farm and the animals from the entrance exam. The head cow recognizes Yor and bows to her, but accidentally steps on the tail of a pig, which causes a chain reaction of chaos among the animals. While Yor runs away from the scene, Lloyd spots her from the school rooftops. He initially assumes that she knew he was faking going to work and had followed him, but notices the bag she is carrying. Yor eventually finds Anya and gives her the PE uniform, but to her shock, Anya tells her that she does not have PE today. As Yor leaves the school, Lloyd catches up with her and asks what she is doing. Yor explains herself, and Lloyd thanks her. However, Yor laments not being of any help to Anya and not checking her schedule, calling herself a failure as a mother. Lloyd denies this and worries that her depressed mood will jeopardize the mission, so he invites Yor for lunch before he goes to work, which she happily accepts.